Welcome back for a new top 10 list, and of course this is the Goku Report. Now this is a special new updated version for my secondary channel, top 10 personal favorite Tim Burton movies. Now these are films that Tim Burton directed, excluding anything that he may have been just a producer on, which means movies such as Alice Through the Looking Glass does not qualify because he was just producer and executive producer. So, with that said, keep in mind also there are Tim Burton movies I personally have liked, or people don't. A film or two on this list may not be too well known to a lot of people, unless, like me, you've been following him for many years. With that said, honorable mentions. First up, the 2010 Alice in Wonderland. Yes, I actually enjoyed it. Guilty pleasure film, I guess you could say. Also, 2019, his take on Dumbo, I quite enjoyed. Also, Batman Returns from '92. His 2001 interesting adaptation of Planet of the Apes is a film I also quite enjoyed. Also, his 2012 animated film Frankenweenie, which is based off an original short he originally did many years prior. Also, honorable mentions Guilty Pleasure film, his 2012 adaptation of Dark Shadows, which was an interesting supernatural soap opera from the 70s. Also, his adaptation 2005, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, gets an honorable mention. His 2003 release, which I think is a criminally underrated film, Big Fish. Also, and the last honorable mention, I'm sure some people have this absolutely on their top 10. For me, honorable mention. I enjoy it, but not as much as some people do. His 1985 film, Pee Wee's Big Adventure. I'll admit, as time has gone on, I've come to appreciate, I think, the film more than I did when I was younger. I never got into Pee Wee back when I was a kid. But looking back now, I have to say it's actually a pretty solid film overall. With that said, coming in at 10th place, technically go back and forth between, he wasn't technically the overall, so I guess I'm backtracking a little on that statement, but coming in 10th place, heavily involved Tim Burton, plus one of my personal favorite films involving stop motion. Coming at number 10 is James and the Giant Peach. Of course, based off book with the same name. I personally never read the book, but I love this film, and this film does have definitely a nostalgia factor involved for me. Personally, I love James and the Giant Peach, and I always will. And plus, it's kind of cool. More or less, you see a pirate, which basically looks like Jack Skellington. Interesting. But yeah, released 1996. Hard to believe, though. It was that long ago. Coming in at number 9 is arguably, in my opinion, maybe his most underrated film. And I highly recommend this. Was a great film. Very different from traditional Tim Burton style filmmaking, but it is a film that deserves a lot more love than it gets. Number 9 for me is his 2014 film, Big Eyes. If you've never actually seen or heard of Big Eyes, I recommend looking up a trailer. If you get a chance, check out some clips of the movie. It is seriously good, and it's a film that deserves a lot more love than it unfortunately gets. A lot of people that call themselves Tim Burton fans have probably never seen Big Eyes, and it's a film I think more people need to check out. Even if you're not a traditional long-term Tim Burton fan, if you like good dramas and stuff with unique elements, I highly recommend Big Eyes. Coming in at number 8, I really enjoyed, released in 2016, sort of Tim Burton's take, I guess you could say, on X-Men. Coming at number 8 is Miss Peregrine's Home for whatever, children. Basically, a very interesting film, and I really enjoyed Samuel L. Jackson in the film as like the main antagonist. I thought it was quite enjoyable. I'll admit, as time has gone on, I've come to like this movie more the more I watch it. It has slowly grown on me. At one time, it would have been just an honorable mention, but in the last few years, after rewatching about 3 times, I will say I've come to really like this film in general, and I think it's really good, and I recommend it to anyone that likes old school Tim Burton. I think will really appreciate this film. Coming at number 7 is a film that definitely, as time has gone on, I've come to love more and more. Coming in seventh place, released in 2007, a very grim, bloody, gritty musical from Tim Burton, and an incredible film involving, of course, the great Johnny Depp. Coming in at number 7 for me personally is Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. Great film that needs more love than it gets. Yeah, it's definitely got a lot of praise, especially by long-time Tim Burton fans as well as Johnny Depp fans. But also, speaking as a big fan of musicals, I love this movie. I think it is a perfect film to show people if they say musicals are only like family-friendly stuff. Show them this film. That'll change their opinion on musicals being family-friendly. Because this is anything but family-friendly. Coming in at number 6, another, I think, somewhat underrated, definitely a cult following film. It's gained throughout the years. Released in 1999, you could tell it was heavily influenced by like older, like 1950s, 1960s style horror films, like old school vampire films, like the old school Dracula films. Because it's mostly like blacks and grays and stuff, overall color, and the blood is very bright, but that is to be homage to old school horror. Coming at number 6 for me personally is the film at Sleepy Hollow. Great all-star cast. Love this film to this day. I would say it's probably one of the maybe top 3 that I've personally watched the most, just because I love the film. It's a perfect film for Halloween. And if you've never seen Tim Burton's take on Sleepy Hollow, I do recommend. And I think also Johnny Depp was great as Ichabod Crane, personally. Coming at number 5 is a tie between definitely probably easily one of Tim Burton's probably top 3 best well-known films, along with, I think, a criminally underrated film, also one of probably, I think, one of the best, or one of my personal favorite performances out of Johnny Depp, and that is a tie between the 1989 original Tim Burton Batman, tied at number 5 with, of course, the great film, I think, in my opinion anyways, Ed Wood. Great modern black and white film that was excluded. Yeah, there's some questionable things here and there in Ed Wood, but still, it's a great film that I think more people need to check out. That's the thing, Tim Burton has done some, I think, criminally underrated movies, and Ed Wood is right at the top of that list, in my opinion, of films that deserve more love than it gets. With that said, coming in at number 4 is arguably my second favorite stop motion film from Tim Burton. That being coming at number 4th place is the 2005 stop motion film Corpse Bride, which is a superb, great film, and I can't say enough positive about this. This is arguably probably in my top 5 favorite stop motion films of all time. But with that said, let's go on to number 3, which is the second ever Tim Burton movie I ever watched. And boy, does this film hold a special place in my heart, and I always will. Of course, that being the classic Tim Burton film released in 1990, Edward Scissorhands. Edward Scissorhands is a true all-time classic modern film, in my opinion. Tim Burton did a great job with the film, and I appreciate also appearance and stuff from Vincent Price in it, and he is an all-time classic great actor, in my opinion. But with that said, this was also the first ever major starring role for Johnny Depp. So this was what really helped start Johnny Depp's career, was thanks to Edward Scissorhands. And I appreciate it, and I will always have a special place. I think a lot of Tim Burton fans out there agree with me that this film is a true all-time classic and easily one of his best films ever. With that said, number two technically was not directed, though it has Tim Burton's name, is arguably my favorite stop motion film from Tim Burton, and is probably my number two overall favorite stop motion film of all time. Uh, with that said, number two goes to the, of course, the great film with Disney, and I personally really enjoy film. Maybe not one of the greatest overall Disney musicals, but still is definitely gained one of the biggest cult followings that I've ever seen. Because I remember when this film originally came to theaters, it was a modest success box office wise, still like around 150 million. But boy, over the years has it skyrocketed in popularity to a point it's hard for me to believe how big it's become. But number two is, of course, The Nightmare Before Christmas, with the all-time classic Jack Skellington, and of course Sally, with some great songs, and of course the singing voice of course Jack Skellington was done by Danny Elfman himself. Yes, Danny Elfman is actually a great singer, not just a great composer, my second favorite movie composer of all time, only to John Williams. But yeah, great film, great memorable songs, great memorable characters. I mean, there's a reason why Halloween Town's been in multiple Kingdom Hearts games, because of how much love people have for this world and for the characters. Plus, you gotta love Oogie Boogie. Coming at number one is my favorite comedy of all time. This, though, I'm very biased because this was the very first Tim Burton movie I ever saw. I was about. It originally came out in 1988. It was about probably 91 when I originally saw this film for the first time. Which, at the time, I was like 8 or 9 when I saw Beetlejuice for the first time. And still, to this day, I will always have special memories for Beetlejuice. It was the film that introduced me to Tim Burton. It was the film that introduced me to really comedy horror. It was a pretty new concept. It was probably the closest to first horror movie I ever had. But I will always have nostalgia. It also introduced me as now some of my all-time favorite songs. Not to mention, it would be my introduction to now one of my favorite actors of all time, and that being Michael Keaton. With that said, of course, number one is Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Of course, I had to do it. With that said, I will probably sometime in the near future actually do a review for this film. Beetlejuice is arguably one of my favorite movies of all time. Maybe not top 10, top 20, most definitely. But with that said, hopefully you enjoy this list. But that is, for me personally, my top 10 favorite Tim Burton films of all time. So leave a comment below. What are some of your personal Tim Burton films? What is the Tim Burton film that holds the most special place for you? For me, it's Beetlejuice. But I'm curious to see what other people's opinions are. Was it Beetlejuice for you? Was it Nightmare Before Christmas? Or Batman? Or something else? With that said, I'll see y'all next time. Stay safe. See you soon enough. And there's a reason why I'm wearing this shirt. If you haven't checked it, if you're a wrestling fan, I recommend checking out. It's looking like the best in the world is returning to wrestling, to All Elite with Daniel Bryan. Gonna be awesome, but I'll see you soon enough.